Like, I guess I should do some makeup or something and put some jewelry on.
Okay, we're starting. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. I do this so I know when to edit everything out. Welcome to the Oily Devo podcast. We are Southern Mamas, and we're going to provide encouragement through scripture and life over just a cup of sweet tea. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and don't hit yourself in the eye like I just did.
Hey, we got water, not tea.
That'll work too. It's a little bit late for tea, but my name's Amy. I'm the author of The Oily Devo, which is a devotional series, a book series that explores how essential oils and plant-based healing were gifts from God. The first book was released in 2017, and the second book comes out in 2021, May, and it's about trees of the Bible. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also an online public school teacher. Been teaching online for 5 years now. I homeschool my two girls. They're 12 and 14. Been doing that for 5 years now. And I've been married for 17 years to my middle school sweetheart. That's him. And then this is Michele. Say hi, Michele.
Hi.
Michele has a heart for Jesus. She's a single mom of 2 teenagers and a boxer. She works in the demanding field of finance full-time. Although she pursues her business of essential oils by loving on people, she helps them to solve physical and emotional problems and gives back to God every single day. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited. Congratulations on your second
years. Would have thought that we would do a podcast together.
I know. But look how far you've come.
We've come. Not just about me.
Well, true. Well, there has been a lot of growth over the last few years. I say few years, it seems like just yesterday, but we know it's been a lot longer than that. So I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you could do this with me. I can't imagine not doing this with you. For those of you that are listening or watching, Michele is my best friend, and she's been my best friend for 12 years. Our husbands were both in the Army together, and we were stationed in the same place in Texas, and ended up in the same church together when our kids were still in car seats and carriers. I think Sophie was 3 months old when we met.
Yeah. Will was 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then our kids became best friends like immediately. And Michele was the first person that reached out to me, loved me, welcomed me to this new, big, huge, scary city. And that's just, your heart has always amazed me because that's who you are. Is you'll reach out and you'll love on people. And I love it. And I love you. So thanks for doing this with me.
I couldn't imagine not being here with you on this journey. So proud of you. You've done with your books and how far you've come along. And I think that's just wonderful and amazing. And we're going to love on people by talking about our stories today and sharing, but I wanted to share with you that. So now that kicking off our the initial podcast. So today I'm actually diffusing some transformation and some orange, because orange obviously is the happy oil. And this is like a really happy moment for you, me, and anybody else out there. I hope you're happy to listening to us, or I hope that you find maybe an avenue to seek out happiness for yourself. And then I'm doing transformation because this has been a transformation, and I love it. It's something new, and we're walking in that, and we're walking in that blessing, and we're walking that transformation that God up above is going to do for you, us, and anybody else that's listening.
I'm diffusing Citrus Fresh because I also need to make this a very joyous and happy occasion when we do these podcasts.
Oh,
And I kind of feel like I need transformation too. Like I need to go see and make sure that I have it, because there's a book called Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils. We both have this book because we have teenagers who are emotional all the time. And so this book really helps us. But in it, you can find the oil of transformation, and it tells you that it deals with feelings of can't. And so I've had friends for years tell me, you need to get your stories off of just Facebook and put them on YouTube. Oh, you need to do a podcast. Oh, you need to do this. And in my head, I just go through I can't do that because of this. I'm not qualified. I can't do that. Who would even listen to me? Like, and I get stuck in that cycle of limitations of just being stuck in that cycle. And sometimes I even get so negative in myself of thinking, well, what's the use of even trying? Why am I even going to put myself out there like this? Because this can be a scary thing, like to get on a podcast and do something like this. So yeah, I think I definitely need some transformation oil.
yeah. Well, and I'm excited to be along here and to support you. Me and my whole life, I feel like has been a transformation just in general, but my life truly began true transformation. I think when you came to visit me and my kids were, being kids and bickering and, just going back and forth at each other. And I was about to pull out my hair, like, because I feel like sometimes as a single mom, okay, well, and then not just maybe single moms, probably all moms, all parents at some point have that thing like, I'm gonna pull out all my hair today with their kids, unless they are fortunate to have one, or maybe they have that one child that maybe does get on their last nerve. And so you came in and you just like, give me your hand. And I just like stuck my hand out there. I'm like, okay. And I had no idea what you're going to put in my hand. You could have put a tarantula in my hand for all I knew. And I would have screamed, but I would just have that much trust, girl. I knew better than that. You put the oil in my hand and I like rub your hands together. Put it on Maddie, pray over her. And I did. I rubbed my hands together and put it on her forehead and I put it around the back of her neck. And, I just prayed over her. And I mean, like literally after I finished praying, like, okay, Mom, let's go. And I was like, who are you? I'm like, okay, let's go. And then I did it to my son. And then the rest of our visit just went amazing. It was just amazing. And that was the day that I experienced my first step of transformation with essential oils and bringing on the
How they
benefits
work, like
in my house. Yes. And it's just been amazing. It's been an amazing journey ever since then. It's a journey you shared with me, and here we are. Gosh, I think it's 5 years later, over 5 years now, or 5 years, right? A little over 5 years now, and still using up some oils and still transforming.
Yeah, my transformation journey, I guess it was 5 years ago, but it was really started 8 or 9 years ago. Whenever we moved to Mexico City and left behind the Army and left behind all of our friends, our military family, and decided to just have that faith in God to go to another country, to the second biggest city in the world, not speaking Spanish at all. And then while we were there, we did a lot of volunteering. We taught in a private school down there. Our kids were going to school, but then Sophie had her 2 head injuries in 6 months of each other. And so she got 3 stitches on one side in January. And then near the end of May, she ended up fracturing her skull 2 inches across and 2 inches down. And it scared me so bad as a mom. Like, having your
Yeah.
5-year-old in the hospital for a week with swelling on the brain and not knowing what the long-term effects were going to be. And it was one of the scariest times in my entire life.
Yeah, and your network was here. It wasn't down there either.
So I had like 3 people I could lean on down there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like my family's in Arkansas, my military family's in Texas. Like I very quickly moved back to Texas as quick as we could. Not just because I needed my network, but also I needed doctors that spoke English. And then
You didn't have me down there. That's why.
I should have just taken you with me the whole time. It would have been so much easier. But then whenever we moved to the DFW area, we lived here for a year. And that first year after her initial injury, we were dealing with things that we didn't understand. Like there was no doctor, no medical professional that sat down with us and said, this is what happened to her. Here are some possible side effects or some long-term consequences that she's going to face. We had no clue. All we were told is that she can't go to recess and she can't go to the jungle gym. She can't go to PE for 6 months while her skull heals up. That was all we were told when we were in Mexico City. And so we were dealing with a whole lot of stuff because her head injury was at the end of May, pulled her out for school the rest of the school year, put her into a brand new school here in Texas in August with new teachers, new friends. And she didn't have a visible injury. Like you couldn't tell just by looking at her. She wasn't wearing a helmet or anything like that. And so a lot of them didn't believe us, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But a year and a half after her injury, we started homeschooling. I got the job teaching online. It was much needed for our family, but that first semester, I had no clue what I was doing homeschooling the girls. I had no clue how to do this online teaching job and take care of my kids. And then I was seeing a ton of stuff that was happening with Sophie that I had no clue how to process it. Like her panic attacks, her anxiety attacks, her suicidal thoughts of a 6-year-old. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you process that? How do you do any of that stuff? And it was that low point when I had no clue how to manage this. I'm just now seeing that she's dealing with all of these things because she's home with me now. I can see it. And that's when oils and essential oils with Young Living came into our lives. And that's when the transformation sort of like skyrocketed. And I'm like, oh, she fell in love with stress away. I can give her stress away and she will just chill out. And I needed her to be able to chill out because her body was so stressed all the time in that fight or flight response because she's got to protect herself. She's got to protect her head. She can't do that. She can't go to PE or jump or do anything. And so that moment, whenever we started with Young Living, all I wanted was orange oil because I knew it was a happy oil and I wanted to be happy. And I was not happy at all being a work from home mom, new to homeschooling, having no clue what I'm doing there, and trying to deal with this traumatic brain injury. And did I mention that my husband broke his neck in the Army and that's why he was out and we were still dealing with him and all of that? Did I mention that part? Oh, that'll be a story for another day.
Right? Exactly.
But that was 2017, 2016.
16. No. Yeah.
It was February 2nd, 2016. There was a lot of stuff going on in my lives and our lives. And then I lost like half a dozen family members in the 3 months. No, not 3 months, 3 years from 2016 to 2019. We lost 6 or 7 people in our family. And that was hard, trying to process all of that grief at the same time. And the more I learned about natural healing, and the more I learned about, well, like with the diagnosis with Sophie, I didn't accept them. Because if I accepted that she has this traumatic brain injury and this is just the way it's going to be, that's putting a limitation on God. And I refuse to put that limitation on God. And so the essential oils kind of like opened me up to accept that God might want to move in this area of my life, or this area of my life, or this area of my life. And so I went through amazing growth and transformation 2016, 2017. And then I've been kind of stagnant for the past 2 years. Like I've just kind of been waiting. Like the second oily devotional that I wrote has been a work in progress for 2 years. And I felt like it was never good enough to publish. It wasn't right. I was originally only going to do a 14-day one because that's what the first book was. And then I was like, no, it needs to be like a 30, 31 days so that it's a solid month devotional. And so that's where it came from. And in March, this is the end of April right now. So in March, 7 weeks ago, I started using abundance on my hands, and just every single day. And somebody told me to make a roller bottle of abundance, orange, and believe. And I used that in February. And then I started using abundance every single day in March, and picked up the manuscript that I was working on for the Oily Devo on like March 2nd or 3rd, and finished the whole thing before the middle of March. And had been working on it for 2 years and hadn't made any progress really, and had just been sort of floundering around. And so this abundance oil, like it started to change my mindset from a scarcity mindset, from a not feeling like I'm good enough mindset. Like, is that just something that I have felt? Do you feel like that? Do you think that most women feel like they're not good enough?
Oh, you're asking me? Oh, I felt, oh, what day do you want to go to? What year? And
I
I'm
feel
sure.
like it's a system-wide thing that, like,
Yeah.
from childhood, I have always felt like I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And
And there's, I don't know why we get that set in our heads, or what little things that we do that we don't feel like we measure up, and a good example, I went from being, married for a very long time to being a single parent, and not knowing how I'm going to do this or that, or that, and it's so easy to get in that negative mindset when we already have the answer. God sees us. He already knows. He knew what we were going to do before we were even born. Before you were I knew you before you were formed in the womb. And so, yes. And then things happen to us. For me, I know I question if I'm good enough and so forth, after my divorce, and not knowing, well, not feeling good enough for my church, or within my church, or within the people. And then, those people, I'm sure, were just they didn't have the right, do I have the right words to, they were feeling that way, like, what do I say, we're so, exactly. And so, yeah, it affects everybody on every single level. And I think our children probably feel that on some level too. Sophie, and with her brain, I'm sure, I mean, what 6-year-old has those kind of thoughts? My kids one's actually returned to in-school learning, and has to deal with all the kids that are, that are the way they are now, and then having to deal with this pandemic on top of everything. Yeah, I believe that those types of feelings, those types of And let's just call it what they are. Lies of the enemy are infecting people, and they're not realizing their worth and who they are in Christ, whether they're believers or not. Because even if you don't believe, even if somebody doesn't believe, we as believers know that he created them. So, and that, we just pray that their eyes are opened so they can see and have that acceptance. Oh, and acceptance, that's another good oil.
We'll have to do another episode on acceptance.
Yeah, we'll have to do acceptance.
Forgiveness. I need to be
Uh-oh, yeah, can't hear you.
We'll get into that. But John 10:10 says, I am come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. And so whenever I started to see this transformation in my thinking process with using abundance, I started searching for scriptures and I came across that one and I started thinking, like, what does it mean to have it more abundantly? A more abundant life, what does that exactly mean? And he's not just talking about finances. Like, of course, I welcome God pour down all the financial rain you want to on me right now. I willingly accept that. But that's not what Jesus was talking about here. He's talking about pouring an abundant life in giving you joy, in giving you love and all the fruits of the Spirit. And when you have the fruits of the Spirit, then you become strong. And when you become strong, you need the armor of God. And so when you put those two things together, that's how you can move forward with your life. You can move forward in joy. You can move forward with strength. You can move forward with patience when you have your loins girded with truth and all of these things. And there's a Bible verse, and I should have looked it up, but it's you don't run, you don't stand, and you don't sit with scoffers and sinners and another group, I can't remember. But that Bible verse always stuck with me because I can be an on-the-go mom and go, 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 go. And that's how it starts off with. But if you're listening to negativity and you're listening to all the things that are going on in this world, that's how you slow down and then start standing. And when you're standing, you're hearing even more voices all around you of negativity that's trying to drag you down. And they literally drag you down into a seated position. And if you are seated, listening to all of this going on in the world, and you have all that pressure pushing you down, you can't move forward with what God's planned for your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that life more abundantly, that's what God wanted us to do. He wanted us to have that life more abundantly with joy and all the fruits of the Spirit, and we have to be girded with all of the armor of God. And we'll go into all of those in further podcasts. But like abundance, putting on the oil isn't just because I want to increase my finances. It's a mental thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's also a physical thing. Like, to everything in life, there are those 4 facets of life. Like our Pastor Larry, he talks about how everything has a physical side and a spiritual side. But you also have the emotional and the mental as well. And so it is our hope with this podcast that we can meet all 4 of those needs, that we can love on you guys and share essential oils and how they can benefit you physically, but also spiritually help you grow closer with God, and emotionally, because we're emotional women and are raising emotional teenagers, and we need some support with that. And then mental health is a big deal, and nobody actually teaches about mental health or how to process those kinds of things. So our purpose in this podcast is 4-fold, and we hope to bless everybody with it. It's going to rain down on everybody. Psalms 68:9 says, you gave abundant showers, O God, you refreshed your weary inheritance. If our listeners are weary of all of this pandemic crap that's been going on, You are about to be abundantly showered by God. The clouds pour down their moisture and abundant showers fall on mankind in Job 36:28.
You know, I want to come back on then too, you know, because this one piggybacks right on Job, you know, is on Isaiah 43:19. It's like, see what I'm doing? I've already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness and I will create rivers in the dry wasteland. You know, who isn't feeling like a wasteland right now after being locked up in our houses for all this time? You know, that you just open up and let God just do what he does. Just let God be God. As they say, but God, here he comes. Watch him.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of that verse is Ezekiel 17:8. It had been planted in good soil by abundant water so that it would produce branches, bear fruit, and become a splendid vine. We, as the church, are the vine. We are supposed to produce fruit. I mean, that is why I went through this topical study on trees of the Bible and like why was this tree used and mentioned at this point in the Bible, but not a different tree? Because each of those trees produce different fruits. They produce different things. My gift, my talent that God has given me for writing is different than what God has given you,
Right.
what God has given our readers. And so each of us are going to produce fruit and a splendid vine, but what we produce is going to be different. And I don't want to limit God anymore in his ability to make that fruit grow in me, because I want to spread that to everybody, to all of our listeners, to the people that are watching on YouTube, to the people that read my books. Like, I just want to be available for God to use as a vessel.
Amen. Amen. I agree.
I'm hoping that this podcast can let me do that and help other people, but I'm also going to use it to help hold me accountable because
And me?
You do a much better job of this than I do, but I need to be in the word every single day because we're supposed to meditate day and night on the word, and we're supposed to hide it in our hearts. And one of the guest speakers, David Barton, said that between 6 and 9% of all Americans, all Christians, do not read their Bible every day.
Girl, he also.
I don't read my Bible every day, and I need to. I want to. And so if I know that we are doing this podcast every single week, then I'm like, oh, I need to prepare. I need to read my Bible. I need to study.
I gotta research. There you go.
Accountable, and I'm going to hold you accountable. And you're already doing a great job. What app do you use?
I use the U version, the U version Bible app, and I love it. So it wakes me up in the morning. So like when my alarms go off and the reminder is there, but there's a Bible study, like you can do your own little Bible study, and there's so many reading Bible plans in there. So you can ensure that if you get up early and you set your intentions for the day before you get out of bed, you can literally get into God's word, and like within the first 5 minutes of you waking up, before you even roll out of bed. And you can just, well, if you use your phone as a alarm clock, like some of us do, guilty me, that's me. I'm people that do that.
Yeah.
So, but then it's all right there, and then you're all set to go. So that's what I like about it. And so, yep, I have this streak. I've done really well. God's done really well with me and reminding me to do this. So 208 days straight in my Bible.
Not just the plans that you read, like the devotionals, but also reading the actual Bible.
Yeah, the Bible. Yeah, like getting in there so I know where I'm at. Yeah, so I have they have the Bible 100 was it 1 year in the full Bible, and you can read it. and gives you your reading for each day. It's one of those plans in there.
I
And
need to search for a topical Bible because that's the way my brain thinks. Like whenever I tried to do the read the Bible in a year, I'll make
mhm.
it through like March and then I'll be like circling everything about one topic. And that's how the Oily Devo 2 came out, studying about trees, because every time I got to a type of tree, like I would go down a rabbit hole and search, like, why is it talking about pine? Why isn't it talking about cypress? Why pine? Pine is totally different than cypress, but they're same in the same family, and like that doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. But it was
Right.
all for a reason, because like the Bible, the word of God, every single word in the Bible is there for a reason, for our edification, for us to learn. And I need to read through my Bible, but topically. I don't know if I could do that yet.
Have you ever looked at, they have a chronological Bible. Have you ever thought about doing that one?
I have a physical chronological Bible, which is really cool. I love the Old Testament.
Yeah, I do too.
Absolutely love
I
it.
like, I find myself spending a lot more time in the Old Testament. Just because there's just some really good fruit and knowledge in there for today. The Bible is like, if you need to, aside from like baking recipes, though, they do have some in there. I mean, you can really, literally, everything you need is right in there. And that's all you need to get by in life. And so I guess that's it for me, Amy. That's why you say that I'm really good at doing things. It's because I need little wins every day. I have to have a win. And maybe it's getting up in the morning and just knowing I read my Bible. Maybe it's getting up today and knowing that this week I'm hitting 8 months of being smoke free, because I just take it one day at a time. But it's little wins, because what I do today one time, and then I might do it again tomorrow, and then I might do, and that builds up over time. And then for me, when I look back, I'm like, oh my goodness. So I look back, it's actually last month, right when I hit the 7-month mark, and I made a joke, because it was a rough day. And like, that's probably my one plus that I love about being able to telework from home right now, is that I can diffuse for any emotional or situation going on. Let me just go and look and see what I need to say. But I say that because my son and I were talking, and when we realized, and we're counting back, and I was like, oh my gosh, did you realize it's 7 months this week that I haven't had a cigarette? And the reason I said that, because something had got me a little out of whack. And I turned around and I was like, oh man, I just need to have a cigarette right about now. My son, like, you don't need one of those, Mom. Don't even just joke like that. I'm like, I'm having one right now. And he turned around and he was like, I can't believe you just did that. Did you just really do that? I'm like, I did. I really did. And I said, but to be honest with you, I don't even remember what they even like. I don't even remember. I was like, as a matter of fact, son, it's been 7 months. It was like this week, it's been 7 months. And he's like, then he looks perplexed. Like, what's wrong with you? And he was like, wow, I didn't realize it's been that long. And I was like, I know. He's like, that is over half a year. And I'm like, exactly. So, but it builds up, and that's how oh my gosh, I've been winning for over 6 months. And that, then you feel it, then you see it. So just one thing that I can do today, and that I know 6 months from now, I'm going to be like looking back, oh my goodness. I'm telling you, when my timer on my clock, on my Bible study app says 365 days, I'm going to cry. I'm probably just going to cry. I'm going to be like, you did it, God, you did it, kind of thing. So
I will cry with you. We will celebrate together.
yes, that's amazing. And but it's just one thing. And that's how you get little wins, though. It's, what can I do today? I think for you and I today, our win was being here.
Mm-hmm.
It was a win.
Yes, I felt
Because
like if we didn't do it today, we were going to get stuck, or at least I was going to get stuck in the research phase. I was going to be stuck researching down all the rabbit holes on how to do a podcast, of what I'm supposed to do and how this is supposed to work and all of that. And if I don't just start, it's just going to be kept being pushed back and pushed back. And I felt like maybe not Satan, but a negative spirit possibly was like pushing against us this week, because we were planning on doing it on Tuesday, and then we were planning on Thursday, and then we were planning on Saturday, and here it is Sunday, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna do it. It doesn't matter if it's any good, we're gonna do it.
So, and that's something that to anybody that's watching, you know, because that's how real life is, isn't it? You know, we have all the intentions that we're going to do this, but then, you know, oh my goodness, the kid, you know, one of our children gets sick, or, oh, well, we forgot we have this performance, or I love this. Hey, mom, hey, we're having a presentation tomorrow at school. And, you know, so life happens, and that's why we're here. We're being real. We're being open about this. And
we don't want to ignore life. We want to live in the world so that we can be a blessing to the world. But at the same time, we have to honor what God is calling us to do, even if we don't feel like we're good enough yet, even if we are stagnating or feeling like battling those feelings of I can't do this because, or any of that stuff. And that applies not just to us doing this podcast, but to our listeners too. So if you are listening, and wherever you found the link to this podcast, comment. If you're watching it on YouTube, comment on YouTube. If you're watching or listening to the podcast, you know, you can send us an email. We have a website. It's called theoilydevo.com. That's Devo, D-E-V-O. It's short for devotional. So you can go to theoilydevo.com and send us a message. Tell us what you are transforming, what you are overcoming, your limitations, your I can't statements, your whatever you feel like is holding you back, your feelings of not enough, I'm not enough. And then I want you to flip that statement around. So instead of, oh, I can't quit smoking, today I am not going to smoke. Today I am going to be smoke free. And just make it a today statement. And then tomorrow we will say the same statement again. And then the day after that, we will say the same statement again. And then the next day we will say the same statement again. If you need to write out that statement on a Post-it note and stick it on your computer or your phone.
the bathroom mirror. Hello,
bathroom mirrors. We're both bathroom mirror people. We love our scriptures on the bathroom mirror. We put our affirmations on the bathroom mirror. There, say it out loud every single day, because what comes out of your mouth is the power of God creating that. And so say it out loud, say what you're overcoming. And so I am going to overcome my feelings of limitations with my writing. I am going to write today. That's going to be my statement. I'm just going to write today. I'm going to write today. That's going to be my challenge for myself. What are you going to do, Michele?
Today,
what is going
I'm
to
actually
be your...
I am going to the grocery store. I'm going to the grocery store. I am going to the grocery store.
There you go. It's a little
the kids
win.
need to eat. The kids do want to eat tomorrow. Something.
There you go.
There's my motivation.
There's your motivation. Okay, we are going to start doing this podcast weekly, at least. Next podcast, hopefully we'll have my sister Joni be joining us, and we will be talking about fulfillment or ambition or moving forward, or maybe a fruits of the spirit, or obeying God. You just don't know until you tune in with us of what we're going to talk about next. So everybody needs to join us. Bye, everybody.